Let me be clear. UAP are real. Advanced technologies not made by our government or any other government are monitoring sensitive military installations around the globe. Although much of my government work on the UAP subject still remains classified, excessive secrecy has led to grave misdeeds against loyal civil servants, military personnel, and the public, all to hide the fact that we are not alone in the cosmos.
Space security chief, in an interview with an Israeli newspaper, he said the aliens have been waiting until today for humanity to develop and reach a stage where we will understand in general what space and spaceships are.
Well, this is quite a story, and it comes from the man who headed Israel's space security program for nearly 30 years, Chaim Eshed.
Break out the theremin, because this next story is just begging for a spooky sci-fi background. After 30 years at the helm of the Israeli space security program, and after receiving 3 Israeli security awards, retired Israeli general and respected professor Chaim Eshed is now unveiling that yes, there are aliens among us, yes, Israel has made contact with them, and no, humanity is not ready for them. Also, before you start doubting his words, the 87-year-old Eshed was clear in his recent interview with Yediot Ahronot News that he's not talking about immigration, but rather about a galactic federation complete with an underground base on Mars, where there are American and alien representatives apparently present. He also explains that President Trump both knows about them and was on the verge of disclosing their existence, only to be persuaded not to by the Federation.
Okay, spoiler alert, we did find him. However, he didn't want to give an interview. But we did find out some interesting information nonetheless. In 2020, he made these claims in an article for the Yediot Ahronot, which is a Tel Aviv-based, widely read daily newspaper in Israel. Then he elaborated in a book around the same time. Then he disappeared, not seen in public, on TV, news productions again, never to give an interview since. So what happened to Chaim? And why is he such an important figure? Well, in order to first understand his credibility, we need to understand where he came from and his background.
Cold War, 1961, there were about 50 UFOs in formation flying south from Russia to across Europe, and the Supreme Allied Commander was very concerned and about ready to press the panic button when they turned around and went back over the North Pole. So they decided to do an investigation, and they investigated for 3 years, and they decided that with absolute certainty that 4 different species at least, had been visiting this planet for thousands of years. So that's, we have a long history of UFOs, and of course there's been a lot more activity in the last few decades since we invented the atomic bomb, and they're very concerned about that and the fact that we might use it again.
Yeah. You can see Dick Cheney, Al Gore, all 9 Supreme Court justices shapeshift into reptilians. Did you know that for thousands of years, creatures from the constellation Draco have been mating with humans to form a super race that includes 43 U.S. presidents, most members of Congress, and the entire British royal family? Do you believe that intelligent life exists on other planets?
Encounters between humans and extraterrestrials took place over 100,000 years ago in Atlantis and in its sister civilization in the Pacific, Lemuria. Ancient civilizations on every continent have recorded evidence of these encounters. These visitors were highly advanced and did not appear in human form. Now, the Mayans called them Chanes, people of the serpents, and in Hebrew legend, the snake represented knowledge. Of course it did. It was not human, not of this earth. History is replete with stories of the heroic destruction of serpents. Perseus and Medusa, St. George and the Dragon, St. Patrick and the Snakes of Ireland. But these are not any legends, and the natural form of these invaders is not human. They are described in ancient accounts as serpents and dragons. And man's weapon...
What happened to Trump? But he's also preparing the Draconian Project 2025. Why did he choose that word Draconian, and why is it so relevant with everything that's going on? Draconian laws is a traditional Athenian law code. It's a set of laws established in Draco, and they were most noteworthy for their harshness. They were kind of like the caste systems of making sure that everyone followed the laws. I think we all know that there are reptilians that work for the government. Draconian reptilians are part of it too. What is the origins of Draconian and why are they so relevant in this project and the whole government and media? The Draconian original race was known as Siakar. They may resemble a lot of reptilian races because they are part of the reptilian group. If we look into the history of the Draconian Wars, they kind of have a hierarchy of how everything is a system. There is just not one group of reptilians. There are different kinds of races or subgroups within reptilians, and Dracos or dragons are considered one of them because of their reptilian lizard-like skin. Not all Draconian aliens are considered evil because they're kind of like warriors, the protectors, if you think about it, and they obviously don't want to get involved in the mess that's already been created in the spiritual warfare. Draconians get a bad rep because they look like reptilians, and the reptilians are the cause of all destruction. If we compare with the Draconian Project 2025 and the esoteric term of Draconian aliens, there is a correlation of how he is trying to build this country back again. It's putting laws into place. This whole year, there's been forces of darkness, different portals opening that's trying to distract humanity away from the source, the truth, and the love and unity of all consciousness, the oneness of everything. This is why there's been false deceptions and so much division what's happening that we're forgetting the truth of our existence. We are falling apart. I see that we're shifting away from the unity, from oneness of all. And seeing the correlation of Draconian laws and the Draconian aliens, the whole group itself, is it putting laws into place or is it bringing more harm than what we need? There's already a division happening and this veil is becoming thinner where we're starting to see things that make us question. We're starting to see evil be...
It's going to be an esoteric breakdown of DJ Khaled's new album called God Did. Now, when you break down the metaphysical principles of the word God, it means governmental ordinance departments annua coeptis, which coincides with Gnosticism. And Gnosticism talks about the archons. The archons are basically the personification of Draconians. Now, Jay-Z has a verse in a song, and he says, I never wanted to be the state custodian, the laws are Draconian. Now, this is why you got to get this book called The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls by Nas Confundin. And he basically tells you that the Draconians and the custodians basically work in synergy. They're basically one and the same. So when you see celebrities and rappers giving praise to God, they're basically giving praise to the archons, who are basically Draconian reptilians, custodians. Because the Draconian reptilians, they control the three-dimensional world through materialism and money. Now, if anybody knows anything about Jay-Z's career, before he started rapping, Dr. York used to be his mentor, so he has knowledge himself. He has knowledge of all the metaphysical things and extraterrestrials and things of that nature. So him putting that message in a song is not a coincidence. With that being said, tell me what you think in the comments.
Married to the life is holy matrimonian. The laws are draconian.
Miss Dunleavy? Excuse me. You are Catherine Dunleavy, aren't you? The doctor is ready.
It's the hormones, dear.
Don't worry, you'll be fine.
Trust me, honey. I could do this procedure with my eyes closed.
No, please. Just relax. I can't move my arms. What's happening?
Get a sample. Make sure this is the right one.
Please stop. Please stop.
It's her. Good. Kill her.
Oh my God!
You all right?
Who are you?
Jane Wise. I'm here to help you.
I thought it would make you feel better when you woke up.
What?
The gun. But it works better if you flip the switch where you thumb. Careful. You've been asleep for almost 12 hours.
Where am I?
still in Chicago.
A bright light, kind of like silver, a very, very bright light. And then, well, I could see like two black people, but then very, very black. And one was near the spaceship and one was a bit forward. It was like very, very bright. And I thought, like, when I first saw it, I just said, well, I don't believe it because it's like someone was pointing a mirror this way. But then I just changed my mind because it was very bright.
Cigar-shaped ship appeared over the Air Force Base. These cigar-shaped ships were over a mile in length. One of them landed on the airport landing strip area. When it touched the ground, it created an earthquake like about a 3.5 to 4.0. It terrified everybody in the area. The back of this craft opened up, and several hundred young men with huge, heavy weapons came out of two sides of the ship and formed a protection line around the ship. And the people at that Air Force base, the commander, had a meeting with the individuals that were aboard this ship. And this particular race that landed those ships and that are seen in these huge cigar-shaped ships, they are a black race. They look like African Americans. They were about 6'4", 6'5", these tight-fitting black leather outfits on, and the weapons that they came out of the ships with, they were huge weapons. And if you've ever seen a race of people that were conquerors, that had never been conquered, they've got this look about them of arrogance. That is exactly what these extraterrestrials had, and they informed these people at this American Air Force base that not only were they from a militaristic society, but they had controlled a large portion of the galaxy that we live in. A cigar-shaped
non-ether, whether you have locks, waves, or whatever.
Some guys feel like you need a lock source in.
Depends on how you look at it, because when you look at a wave pattern, I got waves in my head. Wave patterns are basically cymatic frequencies. Those are cymatic frequencies that operates on fractions of light, and those fractions of light coincides with the genetical structure of a carbonated man and woman that has the neuromelanin, which is the brain and central nervous system melanin, and that extracts a form of a melanocyte, which is an intelligence molecule. So it doesn't matter. Non-ether is non-ether, whether you have locks, waves, or whatever. As long as you got that non-ether popping and it has a certain geometrical pattern, that's what it's all about. You look at some of the ancient hieroglyphics, some of them, they have wave patterns. They have 360 waves. Most of them were even bald headed.
Is this stuff, these phenomena, which are clearly, obviously real? I mean, there's no debate about that. There's a lot of shit that people can't explain in the sky and underwater. We know that. Fact. So the debate is this government technology? Is it from outer space, or is it some spiritual realm here? I've already told you my view of it. But what I find so interesting, we know the government's lied about it. They're lying about it now. That's a fact. There's no way around that. They've absolutely lied about it in very elaborate ways. I am really struck. Here's my current thinking on it. The main effort that the U.S. government has put into its disinformation, its lying on this topic, has been not to mislead you on the technology. Like, they're not telling me they don't have anti-gravity technology. It sounds from watching your podcast that they do, which I believe. No problem believing that. Their main interest is in convincing you that the supernatural is not real. And if you watch, and there are people in the media who specialize in spreading these lies on behalf of the government. I'm not going to name anybody, but like some of them work at the New York Times. Once you realize what the point of the exercise is, it's crazy. And I hope you'll assess all the fact-checking and the skepticism on UAPs through this lens. The main thing they want you to believe is the supernatural is not real. Well, then you have to ask yourself, like, why?
That's interesting.
It is so interesting. Why is that important to you? Why do you care if I think the supernatural is real? Like, why is that? First of all, why is it How dare you, as my government, try to get involved in my spiritual beliefs? That's totally not your area, so get the fuck out of there, okay, A. But B, why has that been so important for 80 years for you to convince me the supernatural is not real? Why? Why is that? And of course, I can't answer the question, but my gut level response is, well, because if it is real, whatever they're telling you is not real, and if they're punishing you for saying something you know for a fact it's not real, you're not allowed to say that. Oh, not because they don't have no problem with me lying. Because they lie for a living. So lying brings no sanction. You can lie all you want. What you can't do is tell the truth. That is a fact. So once you know that, you can sort of reverse engineer their lies and know with some certainty that whatever they're telling you is not true is in fact true. That's exactly the truth. It's exactly the truth. But then you have to ask motive. Like, it's not a profit motive. Like, does it make them rich to deny that there's supernatural forces? No. What is that? And I don't know the answer, but the obvious answer is, well, because they sort of know they're working for supernatural forces.
The war with this is the beginning of eons, nigga. Eons. Energy cycles. That's why y'all gotta go watch Star Wars, because it tells you about this war between us and them. But in Star Wars, they called us the Sith. Darth Vader and them was on the Sith side. They called us the dark side of the Force in Star Wars, nigga. Why? Because we come from dark matter energy, nigga. Energy doesn't have a good or bad. You make it good or bad. So what the Jedi Knights represented in Star Wars, they had the green swords, Luke Skywalker. Although the Jedi Knights looked like they were stronger in the movie, couldn't none of them beat nobody from the dark side. You ever wondered why, nigga? And theirs was light and red. And green is the heart chakra, so it's within a chakra point, green vibrates higher. Red is the lowest vibration, right? So ask yourself, like, why did they do that? The oldest system of worship in the world is called Typhonianism. That's why you ain't heard about it. So you got all these other people talking about the oldest stuff, but the real stuff you ain't heard about. It's called Typhonianism, Ophidianism, and Draconianism. You heard the word? You figure there ain't no word, but the white boy tell you your ideas are a little draconian. Well, if it's a word that don't exist, why is he using it in his doggone dictionary? And this is the cult of the dragon. The dragon is in the constellation of Draco. The cult of, and that's the form of the Great Mother. All the other goddesses, the Great Mother, take it from this one Great Mother. But she has a son. It's the mother and the son, and that son is Sirius, the star system Sirius, are known as Soot. Now it's interesting, we had this Draconian and Typhonian stuff up until 1907. See, Gerald Massey, when he went into the British Museum, he translated a lot of this stuff, and you can get all this in his works. But after 1907, after he translated Book of the Beginning, 1881, and then Natural Genesis, 1888, and then finally in 1907, he does Ancient Egypt, Light of the World. All this Typhonian stuff disappears. They lock it down, and only people who've been have access to it is your secret societies. And they go to Nubia, where's a lot of this Typhonian stuff, and they cover over 200 temples at the Aswan Dam, which had this Typhonian stuff in it, as well as they found Hebrew letters all over them temples. So it was the vested interests of the Jews to cover it up, because it would show the African origin of the Hebrew. 200 temples. Yes. And you know the white man don't. Yeah, you know the white man don't cover up nothing. So you know it had to be some real serious shit for him to cover up 200 temples. And they digging in Egypt this day, and they got 200 temples up under the Aswan Dam, up under the river. See what I'm saying? That was Typhonian stuff. Now the Typhonian stuff of the Great Mother and the child developed, matured, and declined even before the first monumental phase of Egypt, where the big buildings of the dynastic Egypt. The dynastic group came in, which is your Ra worshippers and Osiris, and they replaced it, the Typhonian, and they wiped it from the monuments. And Osiris takes on the attribute of soot. and Set becomes his nemesis, or he becomes his enemy. But Set is the oldest god in the world, and Typhonian's attributes before it comes Osiris attributes before there was Osiris used to belong to Set. All this is in Jeremiah's Ancient Egypt, Light of the World, as well as Albert Churchward's Evolution, Origins of Christianity, Evolution, Origins of Religion. So Set is the oldest primordial deity of all time, which is the star Sirius also. But Osiris becomes the star Sirius too, as well as all the other Egyptian deities. So one priesthood overtakes the other priesthood. So that priesthood, Apep, is the great dragon also. Apep was replaced by Ra. So the Typhonians at this time travel up into Mesopotamia and find Babylonia, Samaria, Chaldea, and on into Greece as the Etruscans. But they were the
time period we're talking about.
Oh man, we're talking about well, the Typhonians were basically your pre-dynastic time period, so it's before 3000 BC, that roughly. Well, Manetho says that there's 500 pharaohs in the dynastic period, which is 3,000 years, and there's 800 in the pre-dynastic, which was 5,000 years, and roughly he said we're talking about 8,000 years. The pre-dynastic is the Typhonian. It's the Typhonian.
Pre-dynastic.
It's the pre-dynastic. So they travel up into Mesopotamia and all that, but they also, from Mesopotamia, they become the Phoenicians.
Now these are still all black people right now.
Ain't nothing never was nothing but black. These are the Phoenicians. And the Phoenicians travel into Rome, because the Phoenicians becomes Etruria, and Etruria becomes the Etruscans, or the Trojans. You know, the Greek went to war with the Trojans. That's the later day Indo-Europeans going to war with the Trojans and wiped out those Etruscans. But the Etruscans find Rome and Greece, which I showed a picture. And they find Rome and Greece and establish the Greek language and the Latin language. And the first Greek mythology, Zeus and Apollo and Hercules, is a black mythology. It's just as valid. Now, Greek philosophy was stolen from Egypt years later. So don't mix up the time cycle. Greek mythology is black. Greek philosophy is plagiarized Egyptian philosophy. So don't do the time cycle. When I talk about Hercules and Zeus and Apollo and Perseus, that's black. It's not later. It's just the Phoenicians' religion of the Typhonian stuff. So you say, well, what did the Phoenicians or the Etruscans worship? They had the religion of the whole Olympian deities of Greece, which the later Indo-Europeans come in and wipe them out and then take their shit.